Welcome to Bayou Land Church's episode number 14. Okay, so last week I wanted all the attention to go to Fr Juel and allow him to stick in a couple of words of goodbyes and his reflection in the last 2.5 years since he's been here. So I had put off all of the parish updates until this week. So we do have a lot of things to cover. So you probably noticed that I'm having the sniffles. I don't know what's going on. I feel perfectly fine, but the things right in this area where my nose and mouth is, it feels terrible because I can't breathe. But other than that, I feel perfectly fine. So I've been using some of that nose spray to clear up the congestion and whatnot. And anyways, hopefully it'll clear up in the next couple of days. Okay, so I know that I am a week late into this, but thank you so much for all of the birthday wishes, your prayers. It really meant a lot to me. Like it was very special. At one of the masses, Miss Lori came up and said, "Father, I can't sing Happy Birthday to you. I'd totally mess it up. But if you don't mind starting the Happy Birthday song, we'll all jump in and sing with you." That was quite adorable. But again, thank you so much to all of you for your prayers and your wishes, and also the cards. And once again, my deepest appreciation to all of y'all who have been praying for me. The Mausoleum sales, if you haven't heard, you can go back to episode number 11 of the Bayou Land Church's YouTube videos and watch that. Or even go on to our Facebook website, our Facebook page, and go back a couple of weeks. I mentioned, so go back 4 weeks. I've mentioned a number of things in there in terms of our Mausoleum sales. So if you haven't gotten the memo, at both St. Anne and St. Anne and St. Philomena, we have a inventory of 0 right now in terms of whether you can buy a crypt or not. Okay, so our inventory is 0, and we have contacted American Mausoleum, who is the contractor in pretty much the entire state right now. I'm sure there are a couple around, but American Mausoleum is the one that the Diocese of Baton Rouge and New Orleans, and I think even Thibodaux uses to do all of the mausoleum construction. They're an incredibly reputable company, and we're working with a gentleman named Paul Raymond. And I've reached out to him, and he came back with a survey. And the idea of the survey is to get a number of families to commit to this project in order for it to be successful. And the number that he's looking for is between 25 and 28 families in order for the program to run successfully. So right now, just to give you an update, I read through the numbers this last weekend, and at St. Philomena we have 16 families, which means that we need about 9 to 10 more families to hit that number to make that commitment. And at St. Anne's, we have 4 families, so we need about 21 to make that commitment to happen. So unless we hit that 25 families, the Mausoleum company will not follow through with the building project. So like I said, I don't wish or pray that anyone dies, but during this time, I'd like you to just consider to invest into one, because it really is an investment. It's an investment on a property that you or someone else may or may not use one day. Because what you can do is, as you're making this investment, and over time, the mausoleum investment that you have put in, it only increases. So what you can do is potentially you can buy one now and down the line sell it off. So it's just a thought that if you would prefer to have a resting place at your home parish, to consider investing in one now. Because if this opportunity passes, what's going to happen is that the company is going to go look for another project elsewhere, and it may be another 2 years before they can return to us, because typically it takes about 2 years to run a project like that. And so if we miss this opportunity, we might have to wait quite some time down the line in order to get back onto the waiting list. So just letting you know ahead of time out there. All right, the men's conference tickets are being sold right now. So the men's conference is being scheduled right now for March the 9th, which is a Saturday, March 9th, 2019. And this men's conference is designed for obviously just men alone. But there are also a number of women in the background who are praying for their husbands, who are praying for their sons. And perhaps this is one of those ways that we men in our parish could really spend a day backing off from our busy family life, from our busy work life, and even our hobbies to go pray. This is a moment that we could build camaraderie. Again, like I've mentioned, being out here in the Bayou area, not everyone knows everybody. You may know someone's name, but there is a tendency that, oh yeah, I know that family, but I really don't know who they are. This is a way for our men in their community to connect with one another. And as I'm here amongst our 3 parishes, what I found is as I get to know one person, and then I get to know another family, and they're not connected in any way, I find that I'm able to be that bridge. Okay, you can be that bridge too. This is one way that you can really help me build community, is to be that bridge for other people. So aside from building bridge, we also need to have a relationship with our Lord. And after having this relationship with God Himself, we then can be the bridge to other people, especially for our men in our community who are fathers, who are husbands, because this is how you can connect with your children and with your spouse. So it's an encouragement to you. If you can spare a couple of hours out of your Saturday to go onto this retreat, this conference with other men, that'll be wonderful. You can register directly on our website. So if you go to Bayou Land Churches, Bayou Land is like in Disneyland, Bayou Land Churches is going to be plural, all one word, BayouLandChurches.com. I have 2 links on there. You can click on either one and go directly to the website to register. If not, if you're from St. Anne Assumption, you can contact Charlie Bailey. And if you're at St. Philomena, you can contact Craig Stevens. And obviously, you can mix and match that. If you're at St. Philomena, you're more than welcome to call any one of those guys, or vice versa at St. Anne Assumption to call any one of those guys. Or even if you don't know who they are, contact me. Okay, call the office and get in touch with me. If you can't call the office, call the emergency line. I'll pick up. Okay, so I really would like all of our men, as many of our men as possible, to get onto this retreat. I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, and as of 2 weeks ago, we had 500 already filled out of the 1,000 tickets. I would imagine by now they would be close to that 1,000. So don't wait on this. Jump on it fast. If you feel like the Lord is calling you to do this, jump on it ASAP, because I don't want you to miss this opportunity of missing out on such an opportunity to connect with other people, and especially with our Lord. Okay, so hurricane season is coming. Hunker down, prepare, and on top of that, pray. Okay, there's a lot of hurricanes. I think as of I checked this morning, there's like 4 to 5 hurricanes right now forming, and it may miss us. Okay, but missing us doesn't mean it's gonna be missing someone else. So right now there's one coming towards the East Coast, and so yeah, it's gonna miss us, but it's potentially gonna hit somebody else. And so not only be thankful to our Lord, but also pray that it doesn't hit the people who are out there, especially the people on the East Coast right now, because we may be spared, but someone else might not be spared. So in your evening prayer time with your family, particularly ask your children to be mindful of that as you guys are praying for your families and whatnot, also pray for other people. It's important that in praying for other people, we're also lifting up our sufferings to the Lord. Okay, so the next 2 items is going to be about flooring. As I mentioned to you, when I first got here and I looked at Assumption Church, one of the very first thing I wanted to work on was the flooring project. The flooring in there is very, very dated, and it looks to be quite frank, dirty. And I think for our parishes, the more that we use it, and if it gets used, it needs to be kept up. You can already see in the cleanup projects that we have had, it's a lot of work to put into these project days, these cleanup days, but when it's done, it looks so much nicer and looks so much more conducive to being used. And so we recently had a flooring committee over there meet. We met at the church, in the church, and we brought a number of samples in. And so far, we think we have picked out a flooring pattern that all of us are very, very comfortable with. It looks incredibly nice. But the two things that are holding us off right now is one, cost, and well, actually, that's the only thing holding us off now is the cost. So we're pretty much all of the bids have come in, and I'm not ready to release how much it is yet, but it is a pretty hefty cost on the parish. We do have one donor who is very generous to donate a good chunk of it, but still it is a very hefty cost on the parish. Right now, the other two things that are pressing for me right now is obviously one, the church sign project that I've mentioned for a number of weeks now. We're getting very, very close to getting a contractor out to pour the cement for us. And the other one is the bell tower at Assumption. It's in a very bad shape right now, and to fix that up, it's going to cost nearly 10 grand. And for us to pull that off, we have to put this flooring project on hold. And we're looking around the time frame of next year in February or March. I'll bring it up again. You'll hear it again. I promise you about this. But we're gonna be heading towards this project sometime down in the near future. The other flooring project is St. Anne floor. I'll post some pictures in the video, but the flooring has been completely stripped, and all of the glue has been removed. So right now we're just awaiting bids from different flooring companies to begin the project. We have some ideas in mind, but also we need to pull in some experts to give us a different perspective of what can be done to make this project permanent, because we do want something that is, well, it's always that triangle, right? With the amount of cost, with the amount of quality, and the amount of time. So we want something soon, we got to pay high. We want something quality, we got to pay really high. And anyways, we're waiting on bids right now for that, and some input from other people. So you'll hear some updates on that in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully within the next month and a half, we'll be done with that flooring project at St. Anne, and get the building back up and put into usage. My light just went out here, so you may have noticed it just got a little darker. Okay, so the movie night that we had at St. Philomena, back to school movie night, was incredibly, in my opinion, successful. We had 23 children from our count, maybe more, and definitely all of their parents and grandparents came, and we had a blast. We had a really good time. Nachos and cheese and snacks to Kingdom Come. I think I had 16 Rice Krispie treats that evening. It was awesome. I had a good time. So anyways, next time we're thinking about doing a game night instead of a movie night. So having things like, activities, having little board games. Someone mentioned they wanted to do Monopoly, like a mass scale Monopoly game. I'm not sure how that's going to go, but I was thinking more like, Jenga. Like I have a... Let's see here. I don't know how many of y'all have played Jenga before, but basically what you do is you stack up these blocks, and you try to knock out one block, and then you take that one block and you stack it on top. And it's an individual game, but obviously you can play with a team, and the person who knocks down the stack loses. So anyways, I have a couple of sets of these, and I'm sure parents out there with young children, I'm sure you have these games out there too. So we were thinking about doing a game night, so having a meal and then doing a game, to just do something different, get the kids excited, because at the movie night, most of our kids were they were running around, they were chasing each other, so they had a lot of energy, and we want We want to make good use of this energy in doing games. So anyways, that's that's in the plannings. That's what I like to do instead of a movie night for next month in October. So just I'll wait for that to come out. We'll announce it. Okay, so the next thing I have on here for y'all is our festival committee. So we've been having a number of St. Philomena Festival Committee meetings. They've regularly met on Tuesdays in order to plan for the family fair day at St. Philomena. So right now it's scheduled for Sunday, September 30th. There will be an outside mass at 11 o'clock, and it's going to take place behind the activity center. So that day we're going to have food, activities. This year we have a special. We have a petting zoo for our young children, and also the auction will follow right after lunch. So please tell your families, your friends, and please bring your families and friends to this event. I think this is going to be wonderful. I'm praying for an awesome day, but also we need your help. You know, all of our volunteers could put in all this stuff, all this time, all of this effort to set everything up. But if nobody comes, or if we have a little amount of people come, the work, the time, the effort, it's pretty much going to be washed down the drain. So it requires the participation of our parishioners. So really, I'm inviting all of you to be present at something like this. I recently hired Brandon. I can't remember his last name. I do not remember his last name. Oh, Brandon Bajeron. So I had hired him to be our musicians, to be our guitarist, our musician for the youth choir, because the youth choir now have, ever since, so quick story. Last year, when we wrapped this, the youth choir up for a short break, actually, it wasn't last year, it was the beginning of this year, I had mentioned that Brandon was going to LSU, so he went to Baton Rouge for studies. So for a couple of months we didn't have contact with him. So I reached out to Dr. Shane, who is our choir director, and asked for a couple of musicians if he had some in mind, and we couldn't find any to our wishes. So there was a recommendation to bring Brandon back, and so I called him up and I said, "Hey, dude, I'd like to hire you for our youth choir, and would you be interested?" And so like immediately right there he said yes. So anyways, we have him basically as part of our employee to be able to help direct and to play with accompany the students in the choir. So the youth choir will be practicing every Thursday from 5:30 p.m. In the church at St. Philomena, and they will sing every third Saturday of the month, and that will resume in October. So if you have children of any age who are interested in joining the youth choir, please bring them to practice, and especially to Mass to sing. That will be greatly appreciated from me. Next week and the week after that, I will be doing the blessings of the crops for our farmers. So if you're watching this and you have not been able to get onto the blessing list, call the respective church office that you're at, and I'll make time to head out to your farm to bless your crops. And that also holds true for people who want house blessings. So if you have not had your house blessed before, give us a ring, and I'll be more than happy to schedule a time out to come out and bless your house. Why are these blessings helpful and or necessary? So, number one, the blessing have always been understood by Catholic theology to ward off evil. Evil here doesn't necessarily mean like demons, although that is a real possibility. If you have a lot of crazy stuff going on in your house, the blessing may help that. But we're talking about even just the natural evils here. For our farmers, blessings of their crops would mean we're praying, and we're asking the Lord to bless them with good weather, that there won't be a hurricane coming through to wipe out their crops. There won't be a lot of rain to destroy their crops. and good weather. It's not going to be too hot for them or too cold for them to do their work. So our farmers here in the area really depend on the weather. They depend on God, so to speak. And so to bless their crops, in a way, is inviting the Lord to come into their lives, to give them a spiritual lifting. But also, we're also praying that the Lord can provide them with good weather to be able to make a living. This is how they feed their families. So likewise with your home, part of the blessing is all to ward off, to exorcise the evil that exists, but also to keep your family in peace and safety. So again, if you haven't had your house blessed ever, give us a ring, give me a call, and I'll schedule a time to come out and bless your home. Okay, so the reception with Father Juel went incredibly well. I've noticed in the last week or so, like Father Juel, his spirit has been much more uplifted. He has a lot more energy to spare. And just in general, I think his health is recovering well. A couple of weeks ago, like I was like, man, like this is taking forever. But really, at this point right now, I think the medication is working for him. Like I'm really sad that he's leaving. It hasn't quite hit me yet, but I'm sure within the next day or two, it's really going to hit hard. That I'm going to be losing, a buddy, a friend here in the house, yeah, it's going to be hard. So that was one of the staff member. So I think for me, it's going to hurt a lot seeing him leave. But I know that the Lord has bigger plans for him, and his community can definitely use him in different ways in leadership. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but Father was a provincial. A provincial is basically like a general of an army. And so he was a provincial of his order to help administer and do all of the leadership stuff. So Father has an incredible amount of gifts that could be utilized. So I mean, he's not going back to India just to sit around, but I think the community is going to be able to utilize him in such a way that, again, we as priests, we will never stay in the same place forever. We will always be moving around. And perhaps this is a way that I'm preparing you that one day I'm going to be transitioning on, that you yourself who are living here, you're going to be stable here. And what you need to bring into your life is God. And along that way, priests are going to come along the way and be invited into your lives. But at some point, you're going to have to let them go. And this is all for the greater glory of God. We never or stay put in the same place. The Lord used us in many, many different ways. And had Father Juel not come here, you would have missed out on a wonderful priest. But it's when he leaves that you actually get to see and reap all of the fruits that he has planted here. Because when, as he's saying his farewell yesterday, so many people cried. And I could really see how much he has impacted your life and my life. And so let that be a little gift from the Lord to you and your family, that if you have been impacted by Father Juel, pray for him. Okay, I know if some of y'all are frustrated, angry with that, I'll address that towards the end of this video. So this leads right into the topic for today, and I'm going to go ahead and title this topic as Father is going to cut our mass ? And you can probably put a ... on that too. So a friend, priest of mine in Thibodeau recently called me, and he said, hey man, what's going on in your parish and with Father Juel? Because some of your parishioners came to me and said that you guys were losing a priest. Father Juel is going back to India, and the parishioners are saying that you're going to be cutting out masses. And I said, what? No, that's not true. Well, Father Juel is going back to India, that's true, but cutting masses, that's not true. And so I'm going to go ahead and put an asterisk on that. And here's the rationale. Yes, it's true that Father Juel is going back to India. It's also true that, if you haven't heard, it's also true that I won't be getting a replacement anytime soon. At least in our diocese, we're kind of stretched to the max with the amount of priests that we have. We're truly we're unable to accommodate every single parish with one priest. Unlike Thibodeau, as you know, in Thibodeau, Houma Thibodeau, every parish has at least one priest. But in our diocese, we're unable to accommodate that as of right now. That may change down the line. I'm hoping it changes down the line. But as of right now, every parish, and some parishes are even clustered with other parishes like ours. So according to my count right now, I think we have 3 parish clusters in our diocese, and I'm the only one by myself here. Is it manageable? Yeah, it is. Is it a lot? Yes. But here's the rationale that keeps running through the back of my mind, is that I enjoy, the kind of work that I do. I really do. As a priest, I really enjoy not only serving, but doing the administrative part of being a priest. I enjoy the business end of being a priest. However, if that's the only thing that I'm doing, eventually that's going to burn me out. That's going to burn any priest out, or it's going to affect any priest in some way, shape, or form. So if a priest is really involved in his ministry, and that's the only thing that he does, and he does not have a parish administrator, he doesn't attend to the administrative things in his office, most likely something is going to suffer. And likewise, if he only attends to the administrative things aspect in his office, and he doesn't attend to his ministerial duties, his people are going to suffer. Okay. So I need a balance between the two of those, not only being a minister, but also an administrator. So with that being said, I'm going to add that the things that we do around here, or at least I do put a big effort into making sure that our spiritual activities, our physical activities around the parish are healthy, they're balanced. And there are times when I often notice that we put a lot of effort into putting something up, and hardly anyone goes. I'll give you an example. The last time we did a movie night over at St. Philomena, given this time was incredibly successful with 23 children compared to the last 2 times that we did it. The last time that we did that movie night, the first time we did it over at St. Philomena, we had 6 students. The second time that we did it, we have 5. And all of our volunteers put a lot of effort into setting up, planning, cleaning up, tearing down. It's a lot of work. And so when we put in that much effort and hardly anyone attends, we kind of have to reassess going, is this really worth the effort to do? Yes, it's true. It's for our children, the ones who do come. But it's also true that the efforts that we put in is kind of wasted, to be honest with you. The same was true for the Assumption back to school day. Like our staff here bought a ton of school supplies. They actually went out of their way, went all the way to Thibodeau to pick up donuts to just give away. Like we're out looking for is, hey, stop by, pick up some food, pick up some supplies, and walk out the door. I had stopped by right after the 9:00 mass, and we had one family in there. And that was after me inviting people. So, I totally get it whenever we have things and you're like, oh, Father, we can't make it this one time, we can't make it that 2 times or even 3 times. But if you can't make it 12 times out of the year, then, we're going to reassess and go, hey, I don't know if this is worth keeping or not. And so this is where those things get cut, okay? Because we put a lot of effort into putting things up, and if you don't go, if your family doesn't come, to be honest, that's kind of a bad business model to just keep on doing it. So this also applies to Mass, okay? If we have Mass schedules put up and you don't attend Mass, you should be worried. because to be quite honest, we have a lot of options here. All up and down the bayou here, 25 miles worth of distance. So from end to end, I'm counting here from Pankerville all the way to Thibodaux, about 25 miles from end to end, and there are 11 Catholic churches. That is incredibly a lot of Catholic churches for 25 miles. I have never been to any other area in the state that has this many Catholic churches in this one area. Most of my brother priests would have to drive 30 miles to get to another church. And there's no Catholic churches in between. So for us being around here, we're quite spoiled to have this many churches. That's on average every 2.4 miles, you have one Catholic church. So again, just an encouragement to you and to me, because when I put on something, when our parishes put on an event and you attend that event, okay, it gives not only me, the staff, but also our volunteers and the people who come to participate, a sense of motivation. Oh, let's do this again, because it's so wonderful. Last time so many people went, we're going to do it again. So by you sparing out a few minutes or even an hour of your time to come and to build that community, it's going to grow and it's going to stay there. Okay. So like I said, again, things around here can keep running like this for a while. And I just happen to have a good bit of energy. I enjoy doing this kind of stuff. But the next priest who comes in may not have this kind of energy, and he's probably going to cut stuff. So I'm just letting you know, this is the time that if you want things to stick around, especially the masses, to bring your family, bring your friends, bring yourself to the mass. So if you fill the churches, if you fill these different venues with the activities that we have, more than likely those things are going to stay. So I just want to reiterate that from last year, because I mentioned a good bit about it last year in terms of mass attendance. So if you come to mass and you look around and you're like, gosh, this church could have more people in it, those are the moments when, honestly, I would say be worried if you want to keep your mass times and keep even a parish open. I mentioned this so many times last year when we were going through the clustering, and I gave the example of a restaurant. You can have and you can own the top quality, the best food in that restaurant in the world, but if you have no customers coming to that restaurant sooner or later is going to shut down. It's a guaranteed. You will not. If you weren't crazy, you would not be keeping that restaurant open. Okay, so that model applies to everything that we do in life. So here for our churches, I'm going to continue to encourage you. One is to pray, and two is to spare time to attend not only Mass, but also the activities that we have. And that ranges with everything in between. Okay, so you want to keep things around, you're going to have to spend time to invest into it. That's just a fact of life. If you want to keep your family members around, you got to invest time into your family. Otherwise, at some point, they're going to leave you and they're not coming back. So anyways, I think I've spoken enough. So I will see you next week in episode 15. And in the meantime, have a wonderful rest of the week, and we will catch up with you later. And God bless you and your family.